World. There we go. All right. Good morning, Austin New Church. What was that? Good morning. All right. Those of you at home, we miss you, but we hope you're doing well. And maybe we'll see you next weekend, right? I hear there's something happening. You'll hear more about that soon. But those of you here with us, we'd love for you to stand with us if you're able. Mark, thanks for joining me up here.
Happy to be here.
You know, Mark loves people so much that he literally walks onto the stage at 0 seconds because he must be with you all. So,
a minute left and I can give at least 3 hugs. That's the way it works. I could let you down over and over. Your love never changes. Lord, you're so patient. If I run back home, God, you come running. Your love never changes. Lord, you're so gracious. With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. You have found me. With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. You have found me.
well, I could let you down over and over, but your love never changes. Oh Lord, you're so patient. And if I run back home, God, you come running, and your love never changes. Oh Lord, you're so patient. With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. Yeah, you have found me. With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. Yeah, you have found me. Y'all sing now. With a kiss, with a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. You have found me. With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. Yeah, you have found me.
Feels like coming home for the first time in a long time. Feels like coming home. Feels like coming home for the first time in a long time. Feels like coming home.
Well, it feels like coming home for the first time in a long time. Feels like coming home. Feels like coming home for the first time in a long time. Feels like coming home. With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. You have found me. With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. You have found me. Sing that out. With a kiss.
With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. You have found me.
With a kiss, with a ring and a roll, you have found me. You have found me. that could let you down over and over. Your love never changes. Oh Lord, you're so patient. And if I run back home, God, you come running. Your love never changes. Oh Lord, you're so gracious.
How perfectly our hearts are made for love. How perfectly our hearts are made for love. God the Father, great and holy, fearing not we come to thee, fearing not though weak and lowly, for your love has set us free. By the blue skies bending over, by the green earth's flowery home, teach us, Lord, the angel chorus, you are love and love alone. 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 You are.
Though the world in flames should perish, sun and stars in ruin fall, trust in thee our hearts to cherish. Oh Lord, be our all in all. With your name the heavens praising, angels hymn no sweeter tone than the songs our hearts are raising. You are love, love alone. 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 You are.
How perfectly our hearts are made for love. How perfectly our hearts are made for love.
How perfectly our hearts are made for love.
Ooh, very nice. Yes, you can clap. Very good. Welcome. Hi, everybody. I'm Trey. I'm one of the pastors here. Welcome to Austin New Church. If we don't know each other, let's fix that after service. I'd love to meet you. We have a few announcements that I'll share with you guys. One is if you are new and you'd like to be on our mailing list or you just want to start a conversation, we have these info cards that takes you to a place on our website you can just fill out. And I promise we won't show up with banana nut bread at your house because actually we don't. That would be kind of nice, actually. Sausage balls, something like that. But if you'll just let us know you're here, you want to start a conversation, that would be awesome. Those of you that do call Austin New Church, or even if you don't, and you'd like to join us as a ministry partner in your financial gifts and your generosity, we have a link for that as well, also on our website. That'll take you right there. I don't see any phones going up, so nobody's really being moved by the Spirit. That's going to change. That's going to change. I can wait. Every head bow. Oh, I see one, but it was a fake. One thing I want to mention, I sent it out in my email this week, is we have 4th and 5th graders in service with us today. Woo! But that's because we didn't have a teacher for them. And so if you'd like to, help lead that and be a part of that ministry, you can reach out to Stephanie. There's her cell phone number. You can text her right now. I'm sure she's back there frantically. She's not in service, but she's back there serving right now. So if you'd like to join her in that, let us know. Also, we have an open mic night coming up. Mark, our fabulous musician / everything. I know. He's the point person of the open mic night, and it's a really good night just to get together. We'll have some songs, and we have poetry readings, and we have all sorts of things, talents that'll be on showcase here. It's not just for those of you that want to participate or whatever, but to also, what was the word? Not if you're talented. You don't have to be talented. You can show up like me and just listen. So anyway, very good. Okay, one of the things that we do like to mention around here is that for Christmas, we do a thing on Christmas Eve. That's our Christmas service, is Christmas Eve, the 23rd. We don't do Christmas Eve. This all stemmed back from when we used to be a church plant, and we didn't have our own building. So we could never find a place to gather for Christmas Day or Christmas Eve because everybody did their own thing. So we said, well, what about Christmas Eve? And it just stuck. It works for us. It works for our staff. It works for pretty much everybody that travels home to see family. But plan on joining us Christmas Eve, the 23rd of December, for that. I know who will be here is the ANC Christmas Choir. I know, right? So we sprung that on Lamar and Mark and said, hey, how about a choir? And they're like, sure. But we have so many great singers in here. I heard some of it during the first couple of songs, but plan on being a part. If you'd like to reach out to, what's your name? Catherine. We had Mark on there last week, didn't we? Okay, so Catherine, just grab somebody after service and say, I want to sing. We'll get you hooked up with a Christmas. This is not regular. We don't usually have a choir, obviously. Yeah, but we want to try it out. We want to see what works. So it should be fun and should sound wonderful. Today, after service, we do a thing called First Sunday Lunches because it's the first Sunday of the month. We will go to lunch, and a couple of places are El Chilito, I hear, is being represented. Y'all know where that is? Down Manchac, under Ben White on the left-hand side. Also, Pine House Pizza down the street on the corner there of that mess up there. And then Pluckers, for those of you that are fantasy footballers or just like wings like me. Come to Pluckers with us, and we'll just break bread together. It'll be fun. We have conversations there. It turns out to be really nice. Patrick, come join me. He has an announcement for Coming Home Weekend. Which is next weekend.
Yeah, hello everybody. Coming Home Weekend is here basically. It's next Friday through Sunday, which is really exciting. Weather is looking great, but it's Austin, so that could change very quickly. It's not too late for out-of-towners, which I think you're on that camera right now if you can see me. Somewhere over there, cool. It's not too late to join us. We still have some host homes that are not taken, I guess, so please come. Please book your flights or just drive here from wherever you are. I think I've done the Friday and the Saturday highlights, but on Sunday there's going to be Sunday lunch, pretending it's first Sunday, it's second Sunday, a creative meetup, an ice cream social and wrap party. Please RSVP if you're planning on coming. You'll get event confirmations this week reminding you of the events that you've signed up for, so you don't have to remember if you did sign up like 3 weeks ago. And if you want to add more events, if you signed up like 3 weeks ago and you're like, you know what, I'd like to go to more than just one event, you go on there and fill out the RSVP form again and add those events on there. And we're also going to be sending out an email this week with the addresses of the events that are hosted at people's homes, because we didn't want to dox anybody and have their addresses on the website. It will go out to everyone probably in the church email list, so that's a little safer for all of those people. And if you have any questions, find me. I'm also going to be putting my contact info on the website, hopefully today. So if you have any outstanding questions. And instead of a normal turn and greet, still say hi to each other, but instead take out your phones and go to the website, check out the events, and RSVP if you're planning on attending next weekend, and I'll see you there.
Thank you, sir. And now, stand and do that. Make it look like you're at least having fun during this time, because I got to talk to people online. You're going to take me out of the room? I think. Are we good? I'm still in the room. In the mains. There we go. Hey, online folks. It's here. We're Patrick said it. We're virtually there. Can't wait to see you guys next week. If you're in town and you view online, but you just don't, for some reason, can't make it all the time, next week would be a great time to do that. Do like Patrick said, go on the website, sign up for a couple of virtual things. There's stuff all over town. So, I mean, if you're in San Marcos or in San Antonio, there's stuff going on in Buda. If you're up north, there's stuff going on up there as well. Look at the events, look at the website, and find out something you want to be a part of, and just come. Be a great weekend to do it. You can't stay with me, though. Anyway, we'll figure something out. I guess that's about it. We'll see. I've made so many connections last year during Coming Home Weekend. I can't wait to see some of your faces and give you hugs again. So we're looking forward to that. Catherine's coming in just a second, so love you guys. Bye.
Good morning, y'all. Hi. Happy November. Yay. Aside from May, welcome to the busiest, wildest time of the year. Does anyone else feel that way? Yes. It's like happy, hallow, thanks, Christmas giving. That's what I feel like saying to everyone, because it's like the suburbs of DFW in the end of October, all of the holidays just sort of run right into the other, and it's wild, especially if you have kids in school. So this last Monday on Halloween Eve, which is also my husband's birthday, with visions of jack-o'-lanterns and sugared-up kids running through my head, I woke up to a house full of sick kids, and I thought, that's about right. That's about right. They could not have picked a worse week for them to get sick. You think they could have planned it better? Because it was the week of costumes and class parties and candy and all the things, and then trying to write this sermon, of course. Which, by the way, have you seen some of these memes? A haunted house, but it's the unseen mental load of motherhood. I think we could say parenthood too, but I'm a mother, so. And then this one, a haunted house, but make it the unrecognized invisible labor behind all the cute Halloween costumes, fun class parties, and magical activities. That's pretty much what my life is like. Oh my goodness. But I think the universe has a sense of humor, because the other week, I was telling a friend, like I was seeing this mom snuggle their baby and thinking, oh, I just miss when my kids were little, because my youngest is 6. I miss that like snuggliness, and the only time they ever want to cuddle is when they're sick. And what do you know? They get sick, but after about hour 4 of like nonstop full body contact from my littlest one, I was rethinking what I said about missing when they were little. So this sermon was brought to you by lots of interruptions, lots of coffee, and lots of requests for tea and snacks, and Mom, she's touching me, and Mom, can you fix the Wi-Fi, and a sweet 6-year-old attached literally to my torso, reading along with every word as I was typing it. It was so sweet, and also, So sometimes I wonder, it's so interesting to balance like being a parent and then studying and preparing for a sermon because it brings a lot of humanity, I think, to the text. And sometimes I wonder how different would the Gospels be if they were written by a parent? Like, I don't think Matthew had kids because there is a suspicious lack of talk about snacks in the Gospels. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but that's what I was thinking about this week. What a beautiful conversation we've had this fall as we've sort of walked with Jesus in the book of Matthew, flipping back and forth, him debating the religious leaders, and then him pulling his disciples aside to whisper these sort of mystical, enigmatic parables about a theoretical kingdom of heaven, which if you were going to paint a picture of the kingdom of heaven, I'm just curious, what would it look like? Maybe it would look like, have you seen that like cosmic, psychedelic AI-generated art online? Like, would it look like that, really trippy? Or would it look like the church heaven that we grew up with, clean and sterile, gleaming white and glistening gold with, of course, because it's the American church, white blonde cherubs floating around mansions? But that's not what Jesus painted for us. The word picture Jesus used was a picture of a vineyard and a picture of a wedding dinner. I mean, of all the word pictures to use, really? A muddy field full of weeds that need picking and bugs that are chomping down and work that needs doing, and then a loud and raucous wedding feast with drama and dancing and last-minute stress and mess and music and everyone getting too tipsy. It all seems so human for something so heavenly. Unless, as we've seen this fall, unless the kingdom that Jesus talks about is in our relationship to one another and to this earth. Unless it's not a place as much as it's a way, the way that we relate to God and to each other, the way that we love one another with mutuality and by leaning on one another, like Dana and Stan are going to walk us through next week during Coming Home Weekend. After all these weeks of walking with Jesus, do you see it? The kingdom of heaven is right here in our relationships to one another. I think that's what Jesus is saying it without actually saying it. And at first I wondered, why is Jesus talking about a kingdom of heaven during his last week alive, of all the things? But I think it makes sense because Jesus had entered Jerusalem during the week of Passover. You could cut the tension in that city with a knife because do you remember what Passover represents? It celebrates the liberation of a people oppressed by empire. When Moses led the people out of enslavement by the ancient Egyptian empire, and now here they were again, the same people oppressed by the rule of the Roman Empire. Can you feel that ache? Can you feel their ancient pain seeping through the page? They wanted what we all long for, what we usually take for granted here in our privilege in the United States. They wanted safety and belonging and autonomy. It's what oppressed people always long for, to be free. And so when Jesus entered Jerusalem, I think he stood on that same land, even then, layered with the ruin of conquest and soaked with the grief of generational trauma, and I think he could feel it. I think he could feel the ache for liberation, for a Messiah to lead this liberation. But you see, Jesus also saw past tribal lines. He wasn't going to advocate for a liberation for one people group at the expense of another. He wasn't going to stand up for the oppressed, only so they could become a new oppressor. He spoke of liberation, yes, but not the kind they expected, not the kind that fights back with violence, not the kind that draws lines. Jesus spoke much more subversively than that. Jesus spoke, I think, like all the great mystics, of a movement toward love, a love that dissolves boundary, a love that runs under the fences and walls that we create. Jesus spoke of a middle way through a path of conflict, one that wasn't on the side of Rome or the rabbis, one that wasn't on the side of king or priest. It was on the side of all people, all things. You cannot fight violence with more violence. You fight violence by sopping it up with your own brokenness. The de-escalation of violence, Jesus would say, has to start with you. That's how we build the kingdom of heaven. So this is the next to last passage in this series before we move into Advent. Like I said, Hallow, thanks, Christmas giving. One right into the other. Next week, Dana and Stan are going to speak on mutuality and what it means to lean on each other in community. But today, let's look at some of Jesus' last words on this earthy, heavenly kingdom. Matthew 23, verses 1 through 12. And Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. Therefore, do whatever they teach you and follow it, but do not do as they do, for they don't practice what they teach. They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and they lay them on the shoulders of others, but they themselves are unwilling to lift a finger to move them. They do all their deeds to be seen by others, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. Okay, so phylacteries are those leather boxes you may have seen. They're filled with scripture, and Jewish people attach them to their heads and arms during morning prayer. And then these fringes are tzitzit. They're attached to the four corners of a talit, which is a Jewish prayer shawl. So back to the text. They love to have the place of honor at banquets and the best seats in synagogues, and to be greeted with respect in the marketplace and to have people call them rabbi. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher, and you are all students. And call no one your father on earth, for you have one Father, the one in heaven. Nor are you to be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Messiah. The greatest among you will be your servant. All who exalt themselves will be humbled, and all who humble themselves will be exalted. May God enliven the reading of her word. Amen. Okay, so clearly Matthew has some problems with the Pharisaic sect of Judaism. We've talked about this. Right after this passage, Jesus, in Matthew's words, calls them blind guides, snakes, brood of vipers, whitewashed tombs. And this has always puzzled me because name-calling does not sound very Jesus-like, if you ask me. And that was explained to me as well. What they were doing was so horrible that it warranted Jesus' name-calling. I don't know. I think that there is great wisdom in the Gospels, but it's worth naming that there is also bias because it is written by people, and people have a bias, and this might be Matthew's bias leaking through the page. So maybe some context would be helpful. Because when Jesus walked the earth, Palestine was home to four main sects of Judaism, and they were all coping with Roman occupation very, very differently. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Zealots. And Jason has talked about some of this. But basically, the Pharisees focused on rabbinical teachings, interpreting and following the mitzvah, which is just the Hebrew word for teaching. This was their way to maintain Jewish identity under immense pressure to assimilate. They were trying to maintain a sense of ethnic identity, which is something to have compassion for. The Sadducees were most aligned with the Jewish priesthood because, remember, the priests and the rabbis, they're not the same group. To be a priest, you had to come from the line of Aaron. And the Sadducees were also most aligned with the Roman Empire. They handled occupation, I think, by playing nice with the powerful, go along to get along. And then the Essenes were this mystical sort of ascetic sect that removed themselves from society outside of Jerusalem. The Zealots, well, their solution was to overthrow Rome in a violent political revolution. Which group do you think that some of Jesus' followers wanted him to fall into? I think probably the Zealots. They wanted a revolution. But you know, Jesus didn't like being put into a box like that. So anyway, after the Jewish revolt against Rome and then the destruction of the temple in 70 CE, the Pharisees were the only sect left. And Matthew, remember, was writing after this, when the Pharisees were a singular voice speaking against this Jesus way. So that's why I think they play such a central role in the Gospels. So keep that in mind, because it's almost as if Matthew is using the Pharisees as a narrative device to move the story along. They're a foil to Jesus' protagonist. They're an antagonist to the plot. So when Matthew talks about these religious leaders, you can think of them more as a caricature representing any religious leader, or really anyone who feels so unworthy of love that they try to fill themselves up with approval and attention from others, which is me, which is you, which is anyone. We all have the capacity to do that. And I imagine Jesus looking at those blind guides with such compassion, not contempt. He saw past the posturing and the primping and the preening into a broken, aching heart, a heart that longed for unconditional love, that longed for belonging and safety and connection, but was convinced the only path to it was by status and show. But you can have compassion for someone and still hold them accountable for the impact that their actions have on other people, and that's what Jesus is doing. He understands their motivations, but that doesn't mean their actions are excusable or the harm they're causing isn't real, because two things can be true at the same time. You can understand why someone is doing something and still say it's not okay. I love that about Jesus. So let's take a look at what Jesus does not criticize, because he criticizes a lot. But what he doesn't criticize about the Pharisees is their teaching. In Jesus' words, the teachings of the Torah, the mitzvah, is not the problem. Those are actually aligned with Jesus' highest value of love, and he reinforces it by saying you can sum it all up in love God, love others, love yourself. It's one particular way to embody love in the world, not the only way, not a perfect way, but it's a particular way. What he does criticize, however, is the religious leaders' actions, the fact that they don't practice what they preach. This is a hard sermon to preach on because of that. I'm like, oh my goodness, because they're not living love. He points out their hypocrisy, a lack of alignment between what they say they value and how they actually live. And he doesn't pull any punches when it comes to this. But aside from all the vitriol at the beginning of this passage, it's actually the end of this passage that contains one of the most beautiful principles in all of the Gospels. Jesus says, "The greatest among you will be your servant. All who exalt themselves will be humbled, and all who humble themselves will be exalted." So I don't know about you, but I grew up only hearing the first part. Don't exalt yourself. Don't be arrogant. Don't be haughty, prideful, showy. Don't think too highly of yourself, or else God is going to come along and strike you down with this humiliation hammer. But what I failed to hear is the beautiful balance of Jesus' words. Jesus is equalizing power structures. He's creating a vision of an egalitarian society, a way to overturn systems that oppress. What is high must become low, and what is low must become high. In the kingdom of heaven, those who have great power release it, and those who have less power claim it. The powerful step aside, and the less powerful take up more space. It's a gorgeous rebalancing. And did you know that this flipping of power structures, this subversion, this mutuality, this equality that leads to leaning on one another, this call to living who you are fully and truly inside and outside, those ideas are what we now call feminism. It's really just an ideology of liberation. And Jesus was preaching it way back when. The way to liberation, Jesus would say, is to release the sin of hypocrisy. And if sin is taking what is already yours, then I think the sin of hypocrisy is taking a power that you already have. You already have power. You don't need to take more. You have power over yourself. It's the only person you can really control anyway. But the Pharisees tried to control others by projecting a false image of themselves into the world. They wore a mask. They played a part in order to influence other people and gain approval and respect. But Jesus says, don't take what isn't yours. Don't claim someone else's power over themselves. That isn't yours to claim. And on the flip side, take up what is yours. You do have control over you have agency, and you have power over your own journey to wholeness. So there's an idea that I'm learning about from a psychologist named Carl Rogers, that our sense of self, how we view ourselves, can be divided into two sort of categories. We have this ideal self, which is the person that we want to be, and then we have a real self, which is sort of the person we actually are deep down. And we become free and fully alive when we can achieve consistency between those two selves. He called it congruence. Some people call it integration. I think Jesus would call it not being a hypocrite. It's just when our vision of this real self and this ideal self are very similar, when they overlap more and more, then the person we want to be is the person we actually are. It's actualization. When that happens, I think we have a greater sense of worth. We can live a healthy and productive life. And Rogers says that as persons are accepted and prized, they tend to develop a more caring attitude toward themselves. Parents help their kids achieve this by giving what he calls unconditional positive regard. There are no preconceived conditions for worth. You are worthy as you are. Full stop. There is no I love you in spite of. No, I love you because. No, you are worthy of love, and therefore I love you. It's unconditional. But when you're raised in an environment of conditional positive regard, like probably most of us are, in which worth and love and belonging are attached to certain conditions, then we learn really, really fast that we have to match or achieve those conditions in order to receive the love that we yearn for. So we develop this ideal self based on other people's opinions, and we're forced to develop outside of what we're truly motivated by. This contributes to incongruence. It's this gap between who we really are and who we think we have to be in order to get what we need. So Jason pointed this out to me last week, that Jesus spends so much time in the Gospels with these religious leaders, the same leaders that reject him, the same leaders he calls a hypocrite. Why? I think it's because his heart broke for them. They were not experiencing unconditional positive regard. In order to get what they needed, they put on a mask. And they got so good at putting on the mask that they forgot who they really were. Jesus is calling them into wholeness, calling them into becoming who they really always were, a wholehearted person meant to be free. But I sense this fear in the hypocrite that if they take off the mask, everyone will leave and they'll be alone. If they take off the mask, no one will love them because all they've known is that conditional love. All they've known is a love based on the mask that they wear, and they're very good at getting connection with the mask on. And they're terrified of being abandoned if they take the mask off. But you have to risk loss, I think Jesus would say, in order to gain real life. When you show up without a mask, there might be people who leave. It takes faith to risk that loss in any transformation. It takes faith to unfold when the only connection and love you've known was attached to a mask. And so I often think, if Jesus were to come here, if he were standing in our space, what would he say about us? I think he'd say the same thing that he said to the Pharisees, with compassion for the immense suffering that is caused by living a divided life. So let me read you my paraphrase. Then Jesus says to us, take off the mask. You don't have to play a part. All of you is worthy of love and belonging, even the parts you find repulsive, even the parts you're afraid to look at right in the eye. All of you deserves connection. And in this kingdom, the high become low and the low become high. We're all equal. In this kingdom, we're all set free by the same source of life. You don't need to lift up your teachers, your preachers, your priests, your rabbis, your pastors, because we all have one teacher, the Messiah, which is just another word for someone who liberates. Listen, Jesus says, the way of liberation is our instructor. God in all is our wise ancestor. And paying attention, presence, is our greatest teacher. Pray with me. Mother, Father God, you see us, all of us. The late night stress, the early morning coffee breath, the memories we stuff, the grief we dam up, the joy and the pain, the loss and the love. You see us, and you say, all of you is worthy. All of you belongs. Not to change us, but to embrace us. This is what it means to be free, you say. You can take off the mask, and you can start with me. Amen.
When I fear I've lost my way. Your eyes see me when I am wandering. Your eyes see me when I call to you, Lord. You answer me. You answer me when I call to you, Lord. You answer me. You answer me when I call to you, Lord. You answer me. You answer me when I call to you, Lord. You answer me. You answer me.
Pull me out of the darkness. You pull me out of my pain. You pull me out of the deep end. When I fall in, bring me out in the light, God, to a wide open place. You set my feet on the dry ground. I'm dancing again, I'm dancing. You pull me out of the darkness. You pull me out of my pain. You pull me out of the deep end. When I fall in, bring me out in the light, God, to a wide open place. You set my feet on the dry ground. I'm dancing again, I'm dancing. I'm dancing again, I'm dancing. I'm dancing again, I'm dancing. I'm dancing again. Oh, 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 when I call to you, Lord, you answer me. You answer me when I call to you, Lord, you answer me. You answer me when I call to you, Lord, you answer me. You answer me when I call to you, Lord, you answer me. You answer me.
Hi, my name is Audrey King, and I'm a Palestinian American. This is a poem called Gate A4 by Naomi Shihab Nye. Wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal, after learning my flight had been delayed 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of Gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing. "Help," said the flight agent. "Talk to her." "What is her problem?" We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this. I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly. "Shu dawa, shu bidik, habibti. Stani showeya, min fadlik, shu bit siwe." The moment she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "No, we're fine. You'll get there. Just later. Who is picking you up? Let's call him." We called her son. I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he spoke, and she spoke for a while in Arabic. and found out, of course, that they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamoul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. That's true, I've had them. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered with powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend, by now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing, with green furry leaves. Such an old country tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones, and I thought, this is the world I want to live in. The shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost.
Wow, what a beautiful reading. I think about what you just shared with us, and that woman distributed communion, the elements of what we're here to participate in right now. They're not going to be coated in sugar, but what we do here every week is we celebrate communion by taking the elements and together, reading some liturgy, reading the Lord's Prayer together. But it's just to commemorate what Jesus did on the night that he was betrayed, when he sat with all of his friends around. Well, they weren't around the table; they were on one side. Jason joked about asking the waiter for a table for 26, and she said, we don't have a table for 20. He said, it's okay, we only sit on one side. Anyway, but if you look at Da Vinci's depiction of the Lord's Supper, it's pretty amazing because they're all sitting, in different areas doing certain things. They're not just all taking a selfie. I mean, they're not all looking, saying cheese. I mean, they're interacting with each other. There's something sacred about breaking of bread and sharing of wine, or breaking of those little cookies. There was something sacred about that moment in that airport that just became tangible to every person that was there, I guarantee it. And so we do that every week as we break bread together. We do that every week as we go to Pluckers. There's something sacred about being around a table with people. We used to say in Austin New Church was, don't invite people to church, invite them to dinner. Bring them into your sacred space first, and then you'll be able to have conversations with them about life and love and Jesus and whatever means anything to you. You can have those conversations around a table. But on the night he is betrayed, Jesus took bread, he broke it, he said, this is my body broken for you. Every time you eat bread, do it in remembrance of me. And he took the wine after supper and he said, this cup is the new covenant in my blood. Every time you drink wine, every time you drink, do it in remembrance of me and that new covenant. And so that's all we're commemorating here today. And so read with me today as you stand, if you're able. Juan, we miss you. I miss seeing Juan. He was here last week. And we still have that little spot of 6 chairs that's missing in the middle of a room. That's where Juan and Susie used to sit in their wheelchair. After she passed, he moved back to California, but he's here for the last couple of weeks, and I cherish that time. But anyway, Juan, we miss you, love you. Merciful God, we believe that you accept our heartfelt confessions today. Knowing you to be gentle and kind, even when we are not, we confess. We have been distracted at times, lacking in love. We have failed to love our neighbors ourselves because we have failed to love ourselves as you do. Forgive us, we pray, and free us to be a people of peace through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And we're going to say the Lord's Prayer together, knowing God not to be gender specific. We recognize him as Father and Mother. Our Father and Mother, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
You give light, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only.
You give life,
You give light,
you are love,
you are love,
you bring light to the darkness. You give hope,
you give hope,
you restore
you restore
every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord.
It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, Great are you,
Pour out our praise.
great are you, great are you, Lord.
Great are you,
Good morning, church. My name is Kate May, and I know that this benediction by Myra Parker was not chosen especially for me because I am a woman of a certain age, but it was a bit of serendipity, which always is welcome in my life. The mirror foggy from years of neglect, my own face surprising me as I walk by. Just come and look, I feel a whisper. Just come and stay a while. Stepping square into the reflection of a near stranger, I feel my hands tremble and my heart quicken. Exhaling, my curious eyes begin to drink me in. Lines etched by decades of ache and moments of wild laughter. Strands of silver dancing in the morning light. Belly widened by years of a grieving womb. Every sinew of me, a storyteller. Every sinew of me, a storyteller. Wow, what a delight all of me is. I love you. Go in peace.
So good. Thank you.